The views, comments, and opinions of the following program do not necessarily reflect those of Morris Media Studios, MorrisMediaLive.com, or its affiliates. Listener discretion is advised.
Just having a little jive groove going on in studio today. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be unto you. Welcome to Liberated Sisters. I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad, your host, and today we honor Queen Mother Winnie Mandela, who passed away. She transitioned April 2nd at the age of 81. Our guests are going to be Brother Richard Muhammad, Editor-in-Chief of the Final Call newspaper. He's going to bring us the Justice Report. Following that, attorney Nana Gyamfi, human rights attorney, is going to talk about the life legacy, the love for Queen Mother Winnie Mandela and the Nation of Islam's and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's international representative, Minister Abdul Akbar Muhammad, is going to talk to us about the commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and also speak about his time with Mother Mandela during Minister Farrakhan's World Friendship Tour 3. She welcomed them so warmly into her home. He's going to share those experiences with us. And so that's Liberated Sisters for today. We're recording right here from Morris Media Studios, and we're streaming on our Facebook page as well as MorrisMediaLive.com. So tell a friend. And now the Justice Report. Today's Justice Report comes right out of the Final Call newspaper, of which I am privileged and honored to serve as the student national correspondent. My editor-in-chief, our editor-in-chief, Brother Richard Muhammad, is on the line. He brings us the Justice Report out of our coverage, the cover story honoring Mrs. Queen Mother Winnie Mandela. And also, we're going to talk about the funeral and underground coverage from the Stephon Clark case out of Sacramento. Brother Richard, are you with us? Assalamu alaikum, Brother Richard.
I think they this is Brother Akbar.
Okay, Brother Akbar. Hey, Brother Akbar, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Brother Akbar, we're going to let you go so that we can get Brother Richard on, but we are so excited. We're coming to you very soon, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And they'll call me back?
Yes, we will call you back.
Thank you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I'm so excited. I want to, as we get Brother Richard on, let us just take a few seconds and let Attorney Nana Gyamfi talk to us about her being here today. And Attorney Nana, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, Sister Charlene. It is always exciting to be here, and I'm excited to be in this space. Of Morris Media Live with you
Black
here today.
Woman owned, Black female owned, and a diverse population of people support her, by the way. But let's talk a little bit before we get Brother Richard about being here today and what you're going to share.
Well, I'm here. I'm very excited to be here to talk about our Queen Mother, our warrior mama, Winnie Mandela. I think it's really critical, especially in this time period, and I know we're going to talk more about it, as we are defining Black women leadership, as we're looking at the different ways that Black women can be leaders of our movement and have been leaders of our movement.
Yes.
We had a living example right before us. You know, we talk about Queen Nzinga, but we didn't get to see Queen Nzinga. We would have loved to, but we didn't get to, that we know of. You
That's
know,
right.
We talk about Nana Yasentua. We didn't get to see Nana Yasentua. Some of us didn't get to see Queen Mother Fannie Lou Hamer. Some of us didn't get to see, you know, Queen Mother Ella Baker. Some of us didn't, but we did get to see Queen Mother Winnie Mandela at a time for some of us in our lives when we were just starting to really understand activism, to really understand this movement for Black liberation, and to be so fortunate to have that fierce tornado of a woman.
Ooh, in her glory, yes.
In her glory, you know, as the standard of what it means to be a revolutionary African woman is just, you know, fantabulous.
Oh my God.
You know, and something that we definitely want to honor. We know that she has been under attack by patriarchy. You know, we know that she's been under attack by white supremacy. We know that there's been such an effort almost on all sides. To attack her, to, you know, betrayal, really, in my view, even by our own people, of her sacrifice and of her legacy and of her struggle. And so I think that it's important for those of us who never stopped loving her to be able to take this opportunity to ask people to look more deeply into who this mama was, you know, to look more deeply into the sacrifices that she made. This is a person who wasn't just leading marches and discussions, but was doing so much more. And so we want to take the time today, Sister Charlene. I thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to take this time to talk more about her after we hear from our great minister, Brother Richard.
That's right. And look, minister indeed, you know, thank you so much for that, Nana. Oh, you see why I have Sister Nana here with us. And yes, Brother Richard is our editor-in-chief of The Final Call, but also a minister. And in that right, because Minister Farrakhan himself has said that The Final Call is a minister in its own right. It takes the word to our people and everyone across the world, not just across the country, as the only national Black weekly. Brother Richard, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, ma'am. I hope you can hear me well.
Absolutely, we can. And thank you, Brother Richard, for taking time. Anytime Brother Richard can be with us, it's really a great benefit, because we just came off the press last night, our cover story featuring that beautiful photograph of Sister Winnie, Mother Winnie Mandela, is on our front cover. And so it's long hours, late hours. And Brother Richard, we won't keep you very long, but want you to talk about two things: the Final Call coverage of her, and also, before we close out, Stephon Clark and the importance of what's happening in Sacramento and the on-the-ground coverage. Would you talk to us about the story, the cover story on Queen Mother Winnie Mandela?
Well, of course, we all learned about the passing of Mother Mandela yesterday, and I spoke with Minister Farrakhan. And so in this edition of the paper, not only do we have a tribute to Mother Mandela in terms of our coverage and reciting her history and importance in the way people related to her, we also have a very deep and I think poignant statement about her passing from the minister. And I would encourage all of us to read that, not just because that is from him, but his words are so pregnant with meaning, as he talked about her life, but not just her life, but the continued struggle in South Africa, and how her passing would continue to feed the struggle until all of the power and the land is fully in the hands of the original people of South Africa, which really has not happened up to this date. We got some great photos, some great memories. We actually quote Sister Elaine Brown, who you interviewed. But I think it's a very touching issue. The cover photo was good, but there's even more once you get inside. You should be able to read it at finalcall.com. I certainly pick it up from the brothers on the street out there. As far as Stephon Clark, we've devoted substantial news space to that story as well, including a story that you wrote about his autopsy and the shooting, and kind of detailing what had happened in the case. We also had we have a piece from our writer, J.A. Salam, who's in Sacramento, who gives us a view from the ground, what people are saying, the protests, what the atmosphere is like in the city, the fight that people are engaged in, and their continued determination and fight for justice. So we also have a couple other pieces, one about young people protesting police brutality in Chicago, another overall piece about this continued problem of police violence, police misconduct, and a lack of police accountability. So check out this week's paper. We hope that you will find some good information.
Brother Richard, thank you so much, and that's finalcall.com, and we look forward to having you back. We appreciate you being here on Liberated Sisters.
Sister, thank you so much for the invitation, and may Allah continue to bless you and your listeners.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. Likewise. Assalamu alaikum.
Okay. Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah, let me tell you all, as we go back to Attorney Nana Gyamfi, Brother Richard taught me how to write. There are others, of course, along my path, and I should say is teaching. Hold on. Back it up, sister. He is teaching me how to write, because I haven't gotten there yet. You know, Nana, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us when we think we've arrived, that's when we know. We should know that we don't have it. So thank you, Brother Richard, for being my mentor and also my editor. Attorney Nana, let's continue. I want to start out by asking you, first mentioning she has an action coming up today, and we're going to discuss that. She's working for tenants' rights, and there's a very serious case happening. We're going to announce that before we leave. And if you're in the L.A. area, you know, go down and attend her press conference. But in terms of the impact on your life and what Queen Mother Winnie has meant and means to you, would you speak on that?
Absolutely. The impact is profound and long-lasting. It literally is on a quark DNA level.
Wow.
When I first started activism in this kind of way, in the way that I'm doing it now, I was in college. So I was at Cornell in New York, and we were right in the midst of the anti-apartheid movement, which was already a significant movement. One of the few movements that people in this country, Black folks in this country, felt as if it was their own. That wasn't occurring in the United States. Because normally, you know, not to be mean, but if it's not happening in the U.S., Black folks here, even woke, conscious Black folks, don't really engage, right? They may put a statement out. They may say something. You look at Maria Franco. She passed, and everyone's like, oh, my gosh. But, you know, come on. You hardly have ever been to Brazil. You really haven't followed what's been happening. You're just hearing about her. Of course, it breaks our hearts.
She was assassinated.
Right? But the movement of Black folks and what's happening in Brazil is really not on the front burner of our community's minds here. But that was different with the anti-apartheid movement. Everyone was talking about it. We were all trying to boycott Coke, boycott this one, right?
I was there. Becoming awoke, as they say.
Exactly.
Learning.
And to come into that, when you come into those things, you're looking for examples.
That's right.
You're looking to find yourself. Where do I find myself? Okay, I became an attorney because I looked at C. Vernon Mason, Alton Maddox, Howard Beach, what was happening with Brawley, and saying, oh my goodness, that's what I want to do. I don't want to be this doctor thing. I want to be and so looking in that time period, who was the sister? You know, we really had just a few.
That's right.
We had Minister Ava Muhammad.
That's right. Thank Allah
who was
for her.
speaking out and talking boldly and forcefully. We were like, whoo, you know, we want to be her, right? And we wanted to be Winnie Mandela. We wanted to be up there walking up on those Afrikaner, Boer, racist, white soldiers and telling them what to do without fear, you know? She gave us that in a way that we didn't see anywhere else. It engaged in war because it was a war against African people. That continues to this day, but it was a hot war, much hotter at that time. And she walked in that hot war as a wife, as a mother, right? As a person who was engaged in her community, not in this isolated way, not in an academic kind of way. Not someone who necessarily, you know, had, even though she did go to school. She was nurse. She had other things that she did, but in turn, she wasn't coming from this academic perspective. You didn't have to go research the word she was talking about. You didn't have to be with it to understand the methodology and the thinking. You didn't have to go through some kind of clinic or culture school to get with it. She was clear.
Yeah.
She was clear. She spoke to the people. She wasn't worried about what you may have done in your past or not done in your past that made it so that suddenly you weren't important enough. You weren't good enough for her to stand behind.
Yeah.
Right. And she gave us this way forward as people who were interested, especially as Black women, as African women who were interested in walking this revolutionary walk. She gave us a way forward. How do we do that? What does it look like? What could it look like?
Right.
And, no one can take that away from her.
No one. And see, again, Nana Gyamfi is forever a liberated sister, forever that. And by the way, she has her own show, Conversations on the Way. At KPFK and also Radio Justice. There's a lot that we can share. We're going to keep going with what she's saying. I remember just in terms of, you make me think about in my own life, and as well, Dr. Ava, Minister Ava Muhammad, Mother Tainetta Muhammad, and certainly, Queen Mother Winnie. I was just triple ignorant, right? And I just remember hearing about this apartheid fight, not knowing what to do, a little girl from Louisiana, as I like to say, born and raised in the country. But I remember this big mass movement taking place at the LA Coliseum. I just had to be there. And I just, was looking shocked, stunned at what people were doing and the fight that was going on. And I just knew I had to become involved.
Oh, absolutely. And she carried that fight. I mean, she just doesn't get enough credit. When we were looking at what was happening in that time period, in spite of the presence of all of these other folks, I'm not putting down any of the other people that were doing the fight and engaged in the fight.
Right.
But come on, the symbol of this fight was Winnie Mandela.
Yeah.
Nelson Mandela and others were able to walk out of those prisons because of the struggle and sacrifice of the people. Right? But the people included the leadership of our sister Winnie Mandela Mandela.
I'm catching chills. It's really bringing me to tears because the role of the woman in these movements cannot and will never be diminished. We just won't let it.
No.
We just won't let it. We have a lot of entities and factions that are manipulating our people and our relationships and the Black male and the Black female. But as you said, Nana, look, she kept that movement going. It reminds me of Mother Clara Muhammad, the matriarch of our nation, right? When the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was in prison, she kept the nation going.
And it happens again and again. We can show so many examples.
Yes.
That, when people say behind every man is a good woman or whatever, it's like, no, we are not behind. Stop trying to put us behind.
Yeah, right beside.
We are not behind. If you have us behind, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You better have us right next to.
That's
we
right.
We better be maneuvering these things together.
We are so in tune. I paused because I was about to say that and I was like, just don't. I'm so glad you did it. See, Spirit knew I wanted that sentiment to come out. But because it's so true. It's really so true.
Because Winnie was not second to Nelson.
She was not.
She couldn't be. He was in prison, for goodness sake. Right? So she was the person that was out there speaking and was being attacked by the system at the same time. Right? This woman was tortured.
Come on.
She was beaten. She was put under house arrest. She was imprisoned in actual prisons. And we're talking about apartheid prison, okay?
Yeah.
In Africa. We're not talking about she was imprisoned like Martha Stewart, was imprisoned over in federal prison. Which is still not cute. Still not something you want to go through.
Right,
but
exactly.
she was imprisoned, right, under this government. She was banished at different times. She was sent away from her home, banished to another location.
Right.
So this is a person with kids, mind you, still dealing with everything she was dealing with as a leader of the movement, going through all of that, and yet never wavered, has always been clear that Azania, that South Africa belongs to the Black people in that country, has always been clear about what white folks who claim to be South Africans where they should go and how quickly they should go there, right? Has always been clear about the position of Africa for the Africans, right? It's always been clear about that. And I think that, again, because of the fact that she was against that Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that she said reconcile with what?
With what? Yes.
Reconcile with what? Yeah, we can talk truth. Okay? But what are we reconciling for? And that caused her to be pitted, again, not just against white supremacy in the form of the apartheid government, but also in the form of black folks, right? Other people on an international scale within the ANC, within the country, as well as within the United States, which is the black folks here were a very important part of this fight against apartheid, but around the world, this idea that she becomes a difficult woman. Yeah. Now she becomes an impossible woman. Now she becomes an arrogant woman. Yeah. Now she becomes a brutish woman. Now all of these accolades they had for her before, those all get tossed to the side.
Yeah, she's not even a woman.
Right, exactly. You know,
now
she's a torturer. Yeah. Now she's a murderer. Now she's all of these things.
Oh my gosh.
And without this context of the wartime, you know, when you look at Nelson Mandela, he didn't go to prison because he spoke out. He went to prison because the Shield of the Nation, that entity, then just engaged in military actions against the apartheid government. Yeah. That's not held against him. Right? We don't look, when you look at various movements and wars, especially wars that have been fought on behalf of the people, we understand that war is messy and war is ugly. Winnie Mandela, to my knowledge, is the only mama that somehow that people have felt that she deserves to have all of the wartime messiness be ascribed to her specifically. Yeah. And that was done because she would not go quietly into that night.
Yeah, and shame on people for letting that happen to her. I want to just read something from the final call as you continue with the promise from you all that you will go to finalcall.com and read it for yourselves. Right, students? I have some students that are visiting Morris Media Studios from a local school here, and I'm appealing to them to go and read this article as well. But I just want to read something. First, I want to start out with Minister Farrakhan's statement. Finalcall.com, it's there now. It is with great sadness, accompanied by great joy, that we heard the news that Winnie Mandela, the mother and the heartbeat of the revolution, had passed. I got to be honest. It's Winnie Mandela?
Yes.
Okay.
Mandela, right.
That's what the minister said. He said that. I didn't want to butcher her name. I would not disrespect her, but I got it right. The mother and the heartbeat of the revolution had passed. The sadness that I feel and we feel is that this great woman of struggle has been called back to the only life giver there is, Almighty God, Allah. But the joy is that the heartbeat of the revolution can never die. Mm-hmm. For the revolution cannot die until true freedom, justice, and equality come to every member of the suffering black people of South Africa and Africa, and all those who suffer injustice. Mm-hmm. This is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in an official statement. He issued that on yesterday. Finalcall.com for the full statement. That reminds me of some of what you just shared, Nana. And also, when I spoke to Elaine Brown, former Black Panther leader, she said that, again, Winnie Mandela was the true hero of the freedom movement of South Africa, imprisoned and maligned even by her own. She held fast to the principles of freedom, never wavering from fighting for the interests of South African blacks, for all oppressed people around the world. Long live Winnie Mandela, our sister, warrior, and leader of Mandela.
Now wait too.
Yes, that's Elaine Brown. See, and there's more. We talk to more and more. You got to go to finalcall.com to see that and purchase it. Please support the brothers coming door to door and on the corners. Let's continue with Nana.
Absolutely. I mean, when we're talking about the embodiment of just the fierceness, you know, this is more than Akira, you know what I mean? More than Wakanda Forever, you know, this is the real life warrior. I mean, I really hope that people take this opportunity to look her up, look up videos of Winnie Mandela speaking, not just to her people. Definitely look that up so you can see the love that she has for the people and the people have for her. But look at her speaking to the enemy. because you just see such a cold-blooded sister or hot-blooded at the same time. You know what I mean? Just really
fierce,
laying it out. Fierce, a tornado, you know, a force that she would tell them, don't touch me. And their hands would go back like they had hit a force field, you know?
Yeah.
Just the way that she pursued, the way that she took her energy and laid her energy out on behalf of the people.
Come on.
It just cannot be understated, you know, and I think that we have this opportunity, and I'm going to continue to say that for at least weeks to come, for us to really look and see what it is, what it means, how you can embody what is necessary in order for us to get free.
Yeah. And Nana, how that fight is occurring right now,
That's
today.
Right.
You know, there was one other thing. Comment on this. There was one other thing that in my interview, that Elaine Brown mentioned. She just talked about the struggle here and equated that with more people incarcerated, more people, less home ownership. Like we have the lowest home ownership rates, right? The highest rates of homelessness, the highest incarceration rate. You know, we're fighting.
Right. I mean, there's a war going on now, and it's a hot war
It's not
in
cold.
this country, right?
Yeah.
It's a hot war. The difference is that when people do not see themselves armed, so this is what's happening, is that we just see one side armed.
Yeah.
So when we just see one side armed, then we don't see it as a hot war. They can redefine it as policing, right? They can redefine it as, the work of the economic system. They can redefine it as these other things because
Name it
people
nicely.
are exactly because both sides are not sitting up here with assault rifles, right?
Yeah.
So they can do that. But when we look at actually what is happening to us on individual and systemic levels, because sometimes people just focus on the individual levels. What happens to, this person got killed by the police, that person got killed, this person's been unjustly held in prison or held in prison, period. We can look at that individually and focus on that. Some folks focus just on the systemic, what is happening to us in the big picture, right? And the numbers and the research and the data and all of that goes with that. And all of that is also important. But the point is that it's happening to us on every level.
All around.
And in every way. Right? If there's something that is something other than individual and systemic, trust me, it's happening in that way too, right? And so it is a hot war. Whenever it is purposeful, intentional, and still on and popping, it's a hot war. And right now,
on and popping.
It's on and popping, and again, we see with our mama, Winnie, when we look at South Africa, when apartheid supposedly fell, and how she maintained this push and this press because she understood that it was still on and popping. That even though you have people that can come down, you have movie stars from the United States, right? Black folks that have gone and just bought all this nice property. And even though you have a few black South Africans that can do that, some folks have been able to go home, right? And know that they're not going to be imprisoned, that the war is still on and popping.
That's right.
And I'd be remiss to not mention, you still have people from the PAC, which is different than the ANC, who are still in prison. Still in prison for their political activities and actions that were taken, back in the 50s and the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And so it's very important that we remember that the war is still hot, that it's still hot to this day, that you still see the headlines about, are we taking land from these white folks who stole the land and taking it back? So all of that is still happening, even in South Africa, right? And those are the same conversations we're having here. When we're talking about this Tenant situation that I'm about to deal with, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about white folks owning land in black communities and then exploiting the black people that need land, need a place to stay because we don't own all this land, right? And exploiting us to their benefit and to our detriment. It's the same notion, the understanding of land, right? An understanding that the nation has always had, in terms of the Nation of Islam, has always had this importance of land, right? And it's the same question wherever you go. The issue of land being the basis for revolution. And so when we look at what's happening with gentrification in our areas, when we look at what's happening with us being the highest rate of homelessness, we are talking about a land question.
Land issue. Land grab.
And Queen Mother was always on that land question. right? That it's not just about saying, hey, now we can sit next to people and who's in, what's it, that the land issue, and my only sadness is that she did not get to see that fully addressed. Mm-hmm. She did get to see people talking about it more in a serious way there, but she didn't get to see it actually fully addressed. Hopefully she got that vision of what it was going to be before she went back to the village, as we say in Ghana. But we're, pleased to be able, again, Sister Charlene, to talk to you about our Queen Mother and to really give people an opportunity to hear who she was and why we love her so.
Oh, Nana, thank you so much. It's my honor. I love you so much.
Love you.
The fierceness that you bring and the truth and the clarity. And you look good doing it.
Thank you.
And so do you want to announce where the press conference will be for anyone in the LA area to go out and learn more about how people are being railroaded out of their apartments right now?
Yes, please come. It's at the location is 7715 Crenshaw Boulevard, right near 76th and Crenshaw, Crenshaw, the Nile of the Black community.
Yeah.
And these are folks who are low income, who are disabled. There's a woman, Giovanna Wilkerson, sadly it's a sister, who worked with this unscrupulous slumlord, Isidore Wilchford. It's hard for me to remember that name, to how to put it together. Isidore Wilchford, who decided that they would work together and pretend that we're a boarding house. Oh. And she was collecting money from folks. 5 rooms. At some point, she had almost 40 people in there. They were using shower curtains to divide rooms up.
Oh, my God.
These folks have not had gas, therefore no heat or hot water for over 30 days. They have mold infestation that is over years. They were placed on a fire watch just recently by Los Angeles Fire Department because the place could blow at any moment.
Oh, wow.
And these folks have been living under these conditions, roaches, bed bugs, just everything. White folks would not let their dog or cat or parakeet.
Oh, no, not the parakeet. You're going to jail.
Live in the conditions that they have asked these Black people to live in.
Yeah,
and we finally were able to get the city. With the help of City Council person Marquise
Harris
Dawson's office. He did a great job.
Shout out to you, brother.
Shout out. And Solomon Rivera, who works in his office. And finally, we were able to get an order to vacate to these tenants, paving the way for them to receive relocation. Wow. So they're not in a situation in which they're just out, which was what the landlord really was pushing for. And so we're pleased about that. We're going to have a press conference again today. It's going to be at 11 a.m., 7715 Crenshaw Boulevard. If you're able to come and show support and show that you're concerned about what is happening to Black folks in terms of our houselessness, please come through. Again, 11 a.m., 7715 Crenshaw Boulevard.
Thank you so much, Attorney Nana Gyamfi. We love her so much. Okay, we heard it here, and we'll get a report back from that during another show, God willing. So we're going to transition now to Brother Akbar. We know Attorney Nana Gyamfi have to leave.
I know. Next time I'll come, we'll do the whole hour, sis.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. And I would like to come down there myself. Who knows?
All right,
see me, I'll wave.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Thank you so very much.
Likewise.
Thank you, Liberated Sisters audience. Appreciate you.
Assalamu alaikum. Let's go to Brother Akbar Muhammad right now. I mean, this show is really dear to me. These people, I love them so much for the work that they do. And I feel it's all in the line of Queen Mother Winnie Mandela. Brother Akbar, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you, my sister?
I'm doing great, Brother Akbar. Thank you so much. And how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm on this book tour, so
yes,
and it's going well. I just did Detroit Sunday. It was a great meeting. I really appreciate them turning out the people and buying and discussing my book.
Yes, sir. Brother Akbar, the name of your book, as we continue on with our discussion today about Queen Mother Winnie as well as Dr. Martin Luther King, the commemoration of the assassination. Let's talk about your book. Let's give it a few minutes before we continue into the discussion.
Okay. The name of the book is Africa and the World Revisited. Mm-hmm. It's the series of articles that I wrote in my 12 years of living in Africa. And I was just listening to the program.
Yes, sir.
I had a chapter in there that talks about land. You know, the taking of the land back from the white people who stole it from the Africans can become contagious.
Yeah.
And even though there were people in South Africa who were criticizing Robert Mugabe, but I was honored to have a meeting with Robert Mugabe with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan when we were in Zimbabwe. We went there a few times.
Yeah.
And he said that land is the question. He said these fighters that fought in the liberation struggle, they were fighting for their land.
That's right.
And why should they now be trying to find a way to pay the white settlers for the land in order for us to get the land when the white settlers didn't pay us for the land? They stole the land from us.
That's right,
and,
in the first place.
If England and America don't give them money, we cannot have our land back. That was the real issue. And now South Africa is facing the same thing. But anyway, I have a part in my book about it, and I hope to be on the West Coast in the next month or so.
Okay.
I'm going to start up north and work down to the L.A. area.
Yes,
but
sir.
Thank you very much for bringing the book up and at the top, and we're going to go into some other subjects. Absolutely.
Brother Akbar, when you come, we would love to have you in studio, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. And
Thank you.
Well, let's continue in terms of the impact and the life, in tribute to Queen Mother Winnie Mandela, and then we'll round out with the commemoration of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King, which occurred April 4th, 1968. Two giants, right, Brother Akbar? I think giant is an understatement, but go ahead.
Well, first thing I want to say that Winnie Mandela and her work, I read something this morning and it stands true that she's not just known because of Nelson Mandela, but what she did is she made Nelson Mandela known and kept his name alive. Because many of the young people, when he went to prison, they were too young to know who he was and the dynamics that were going on. But it was Winnie Mandela that kept his name in the public domain.
Right.
And she did a hell of a job.
Yes.
Making his name known and making sure people in the world knew that her husband was in prison.
Yes.
And we have to give her the respect of a woman whose husband is away for 27 years. She didn't know if he would ever walk out of that prison or if she would ever see him as a free man on the outside. And I was blessed again with Minister Farrakhan and on other occasions to meet her and talk to her and get a feel and a sense for the struggle. And then her work with the youth cannot be overlooked. As a Muslim and in Africa, it's a tradition that you don't speak ill of anyone who passes away. Death comes to us all, and none of us are perfect. And so when one passes away, whatever thoughts you have about him, it should be the good thoughts, and not be like the Western people will say so-and-so died and then trash him or right after that. And they do it. And some in the obituaries and the writings on Winnie Mandela, there was a lot of hiccups in the road. There was a lot of bumps in the road. And the struggle of South Africa is an important struggle, not only for the African continent, for the world.
Yes, sir.
And the very fact that they allow the millions of white people who oppressed black people, who imprisoned them, who killed them, who took their land, who humiliated them, who made them feel because of their black skin they were less. They're living freely and in business in South Africa right now. And it shows you the heart and the mind of the black man. Never would they do the same thing if the shoes were on the other foot.
Yes.
So, and it was Winnie Mandela. I mean, the times that I met with her and her strong voice, she invited us in her home in Soweto, and all of us came there. Her respect and love for Minister Farrakhan and his voice in America, championing the cause of the hurt and the oppressed. And she loved him for that, and they were very close, and So I'm saying that, they're having a service for her. And this service on April the 14th, the world will take notice of Winnie Mandela.
Yeah.
And then people will travel from throughout the world. Already people calling me because they want to know the most cost-efficient way to get to South Africa to be a part of that historical moment. I think the date is April the 14th, when they will lay her to rest in South Africa.
Yeah, so, indeed it will be. There are beautiful, thank you for mentioning the tour. There are beautiful photographs, Brother Akbar. I'm looking at one. Everyone, you can see them now at finalcall.com. Mother Khadija Farrakhan, Minister Farrakhan's wife, and he, and Mother Winnie in the middle. It just look like family, like just natural blood-born family. It's the vision. There's one, Brother Akbar, I'm not sure if you've seen it yet, but Mother Khadija and Winnie Mandela, they look like sisters, and I don't know what they're saying, but they're having a good, hearty laugh, For women in such a struggle, it's good to see them enjoy that moment. Go ahead, Brother Akbar.
Yeah, I want to say when we were at her home, she gave gifts to the delegation, and especially the sisters who were with us. And she was just beautiful in her hospitality. Yeah. And then segued into aspects of the struggle with her and what remains of the struggle that must continue. And so, I know that she's Winnie Mandela, the wife. I believe they were married 30-something years, but 27 years he was away in prison.
Imagine that. They were newlyweds.
Right. But she made it known that we were in a struggle. Wow. And her tenacity of will to make sure that the young people, the youth, knew that we were going to pass that struggle on to them. And it was not over because they decided that they had to free the black people and have an election knowing that black would take charge of the country. And they wanted to make sure there was a level of chaos after blacks took over so that they could say to the world, see, we white people, when we run it, we had control. Yeah. But it wasn't control, it was oppression. That's what it was. It was the misuse, the mistreatment, the jailing, and the killing of our people. It wasn't controlled and orderly society. Right. It was their oppressive hand on us and the way that they treated us as people in South Africa. Yes. So this is a great period to look back 81 years of her life. Yes. I read part of her biography and how she grew up in the area that she grew up before she came to Johannesburg, and how she met Nelson Mandela, and how it wasn't just a marriage of two individuals, but it was marriage of people of struggle to two people, and she engaged in the struggle. So I just wanted to say those words about her because I really appreciate her, and more so because I was blessed to meet her, Matter of fact, I was on a flight in Africa, and I'll never forget it, and she was on the same flight with me going somewhere on that flight. And I saw it was just a great meeting and a great discussion with her. Yeah. And may Allah bless her for her work and her efforts to help in the liberation struggle. Yes. And we have to know, and those of us who are involved in struggle, there's always internal dynamics. It goes with life and how you handle those internal dynamics and not lose focus on the struggle itself. Yes, sir. So one of the great strugglers that I really appreciate was Kwame Ture. And Kwame Ture and Winnie Mandela, they met a couple of times in Libya. And Kwame Ture always knew how to close a door. If we disagree today and the struggle goes on, let's close that door and continue the struggle, but don't fall out with each other. Right. You know how our people do. They say, I won't speak to you no more. No, it's not about whether you will speak to me anymore. Will you continue in the struggle and maintain a level of respect.
Yeah.
For
Decorum.
each other, and that's right.
Yeah, not be grudge masters.
That's right. That's right.
Brother Akbar, go ahead, and I'd like to ask you a question after that, but I want you to finish your point.
No, I'm finished that point. Thank you.
Oh, yeah. I want to ask you, I want to read a couple of graphs from the Final Call cover story, and I want to ask you a question about, some more of the experience of when you all were with her in Soweto and the impact it had on the delegation, right? So let me just, in terms of what you're speaking about, the Final Call picks that up, right? You told them that Miss Mandela over the years became a great friend to the minister and to the nation, and she spoke at Mosque Mariam, our headquarters, but she also gave a message of solidarity at the first anniversary gathering of the historic 1995 Million Man March. When she came and she spoke at Mosque Mariam, our national center in 2012, that was March 2012, she said, "When I am in this house of God, I feel liberated because it speaks the language I know, the language that refuses to succumb to white domination. Indeed, we have been so colonized that some of us do not want to be reminded that we are slaves." This cover story was written by staff writer Brother Brian Muhammad, and some of the staff contributed to the story. But Brother Akbar, that was such a statement. But this was her heart, right?
Right. That's right. I just want to say the first anniversary of the Million Man March, that was an unbelievable occasion. We had a meeting in the UN. Our rally was right outside of the UN where Minister Farrakhan spoke, and Winnie Mandela was with us, and then we went into the UN, the Libyan embassy, and the ambassador at the time sponsored us to have a room for our press conference in the UN. And the minister, Winnie Mandela, spoke, and I remember clearly Brother Leonard, the chief of staff at that time, was there on the stage, and she spoke well, but it was always speaking into the struggle of our people.
Right.
And not let the struggle be sidelined because we got a glimpse of a little of what we always deserved, and that's the freedom to determine our own destiny. When in the past, the enemy of our people were determining how we should move, what we should do, and even how we should think. And but the focus was that we must keep going. We must keep going. We must keep ringing that bell. As she rung the bell of her husband while he was incarcerated, and also brought that to the youth and kept his name in the public. And the world that loved and respected Nelson Mandela must love and respect his wife at that time, Winnie Mandela, because they know that she is the one, no doubt about it, nobody can deny it, that kept his name strong in the public. And even so, she got people who didn't know him to know him and his struggle and his incarceration.
That's right.
So I could never forget that. And we pray that they will show out the country united to pay respect to her, not divided.
That's right.
But united to pay respect for Queen Mother Winnie Mandela.
Yeah, and as you said, we pray Allah forever be pleased and bless her forever and ever. I was telling Attorney Nana Gyamfi, just as a young woman just moving here to California at a time when she was coming for a visit. There was a big rally here, to galvanize support, and the fight was heavy, and I was just looking, remember all the list of companies, the divestment movement, Brother Akbar. I want to ask you, you think that, look, we need to kick up some divestment going on right now because of all of this struggle and these deaths in this country? It seems that help is not coming from anywhere. What do you think?
I think so, because they have a saying now, no justice, no profit. And that's right. And we have to learn to make the kind of sacrifice that we saw among the people in South Africa.
Yeah.
When things were so bad and people couldn't go to school. But we need to make those sacrifices, especially those who we know support ideas that are against us, hurt us in our struggle for freedom, justice, and equality. And to boycott businesses that we know don't represent good for our people. We have to be strong enough to do it. And it will make a difference, trust me. It makes a difference, and we see it in the world with these trade wars and other things, where people use economics and trade in order to bring about the circumstances that can serve the people better. And we must do it. Just like what has happened in Sacramento, out your way. You know, we can pick it all we want, but if we pick a store that we're going to target and boycott, and believe me, they will try to do something different because of their love of the wealth of money, the money that they need that brings them the wealth, I should say. But if we boycott, and we say that we are boycotting because of the injustice, we boycott because this criminal system that they have within the police department to cover each other and to free policemen who shoot down young black men. We're boycotting until we can have some balance in that police department. So we can have some community control and look over the policemen who patrol our community and make sure that they're not sick and just out there so that they can carry a gun and shoot down an innocent black man. So, you know, when they decided, when people said that if these companies didn't divest themselves in South Africa, we would boycott them. You see what they did. In South Africa, the white apartheid rulers took a hit because the people were going to boycott them, and they couldn't stand that. So they knew that they had to make some change.
That's right. It wasn't out of some kindness of their heart. And, you know, Brother Akbar, just to note, that has been occurring on a certain level with Justice or else. You know, the minister, Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, lifted Dr. King's words when he was in the struggle, and he said, look, we're just not going to get this. And so he called out to boycott some of the products at that time. And the minister lifted his words and his spirit with Justice or else. And we see today, even now, and as Minister Farrakhan stated during one of his National Savior's Day addresses, that he would be getting a report. Like, we're going to do a data analysis on this, just as, you know, he did. Like, remember, we put the accounting up, and it's still up. The accounting from the Million Man March, for those who would question that, but that's another story. But in terms of the impact, we see that stores have been closing. They're not reporting it widespreadly, but it is being reported. All of these different corporations are shutting doors. And we know that's an impact of Justice or else, but we're going to have it in black and white.
Yes. I want to just mention, before we close out.
Yes, and thank you, because we're about to close.
Okay, Dr. King 50 years ago.
Please.
For your audience, I don't have time to go into detail, but there's a book that it's an old book. It may be, it's not published anymore, but there's copies around. It's called The FBI and Dr. Martin Luther King by David Garrow. And what this book shows is those that supported King, and King needed money for his operations to do the things, rallies and travel and so forth. And the FBI were watching those and accusing King of being in the bed with some communists. But it's an interesting book. And then there's another thing. We're 50 years after his assassination, his brutal assassination at the young age of 39, and what he accomplished by the time he was 39, people that live to 90 don't accomplish the King or make the kind of impact that he made on the world. And his last book, I think it was, the minister mentioned it a few times, Where Do We Go From Here? Community or Chaos, or Chaos or Community. And because King, I think, had reached an impasse. And he knew that we have to try something different, because what we've been doing since we started this struggle with the Montgomery boycott and so forth, it's not making a change in America. And we need to make this change. And one thing that I want to say as we go off, Sister, and thank you,
sir,
is that King made a trip to Africa that is never really reported. And wherever I go and talk about him, King went to the independence celebration of Ghana. And it's a wonder that they don't report it. And the speech that he made after he returned from Ghana and April the 7th, 1957, at the Dexter Street Baptist Church. I want to encourage our people to read that speech that King made, and then talk about to your children that King did make a trip to Africa, and King was inspired in Africa, and you can see it in his writing on his return.
Come on. See, this is why we love and cherish you, Brother Akbar. We call you our national treasure, because of a really international, all of these things. And you're right, they don't want to put that. And thank you for segueing us to our close. Brother Akbar, just give us the name of the book again and the website.
Okay, the name of the book is Africa and the World. And you go on U.S. Trade Delegations with a S.com.
Brother Akbar.
Delegations.com.
USTradeDelegations.com. Brother Akbar, thank you as well so much for taking time out of your busy international schedule to be here with us on Liberated Sisters again. And we look forward to having you in studio, okay?
Yes, and I look forward to coming to the West Coast and being in the studio with you, inshallah.
Praise be to Allah. Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam.
Before we go, I would like to just call out also, thank you so much to Barrington Salmon. He wrote our one of our stories in this week's Final Call on Dr. King, commemorating the 50th anniversary of his assassination. The article is entitled Much More Than a Dreamer. He starts out saying that remembering a radical, peace-loving warrior and staying in the fight for justice and equality. You can get all of this coverage at finalcall.com. finalcall.com. Support the Fruit of Islam. Support the brothers going door to door and on your busy intersection. And pray for them as well as they deliver this word to all of us. And so I would like to say, as we close out, a special thank you to a local school, I will keep nameless right now, for allowing us to bring some of the students to see what it means to have your own independent, bold, beautiful media entity, such as we have here with Sister Felicia Morris and Morris Media Studios. So a very special thank you to her for having us here continuously. I'd like to say thank you, Brother Richard Muhammad. Thank you, Attorney Nana Gyamfi. Thank you again, Minister Akbar. Thank you to our producer, Angela Birdsong. And I would like to again encourage you, read the Final Call's full coverage on Queen Mother Winnie Mandela at finalcall.com. You may go to store.finalcall.com to purchase any of the books, videotapes, lectures, CDs, DVDs by Minister Farrakhan, all of the student ministers in the nation, and many, many more. And also, please follow Minister Farrakhan on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can go to NOI.org for archives of lectures, and also LCTWmusic.com to order his 44-song box set, Let's Change the World. This is just a fraction of the artists: Sister Stephanie Mills, Stevie Wonder, Snoop, Common, Rick Ross, Denise Williams, and more. I hate to leave. I had such a great time today getting all of this knowledge from our scholars and fighters, but I'm Sister Charlene Muhammad saying thank you for joining us today. And if it's impacting our community or can uplift us as a people, let's talk about it. Peace.